You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back for another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Whew. It is the sigh of joy, of relief, of excitement, a thrill, I must say. It's out there. Finally, I can take a real just breath. I can really just be like, like this feels good. So if you've been sleeping under a rock, I've finally announced my big news, my big secret, the thing I've been, just consistently teasing out in anticipation. And it's finally out there, y'all. I am writing a book. I have a book deal. I have a 6-figure book deal with Macmillan Publishing. Their imprint, St. Martin's Press, is doing my debut adult nonfiction book, The Case for Council Culture. It's coming out fall 2022. Get ready. It's going down. It's going to be a great book. I've already been writing it already. Doing some interviews right now for experts. If you're one of those people who would love to be an expert to the book or know some people, in my Instagram, in the link in the bio, there is a section that is an application form that people can fill out if they're interested in being an expert. It's a tight deadline because I really want to make sure I start, doing my interviews and wrapping it up by the summer. So please take advantage of it. But this is awesome. I'm so grateful for my incredible book agent, my publicist, my team, Stephanie Winter at PS Literacy Agency. They have been helping me, literary agency. They've been helping me with this process for now 2 years. I signed on with getting a book agent back in 2019. I've been wanting to write a book since 2019, and it's just wonderful to finally be able to say I have a book coming, and I'm super eager and looking forward to just all the possible opportunities. Like I would love to go on book tour. I would love to travel. These are all my personal goals and aspirations to really just, promote the book. And I'm just super excited about all the possibilities and things that's going to come from this. This book is my baby. I love it. I'm excited about it. I've been just bubbling with ideas and just been putting a lot of my thoughts to the writing. And I'm super excited for you all to be able to finally touch it and read it. Again, fall 2022. The pre-order link will go out, months from now. So, just save your money, save your coins. You know what I'm saying? Just put some money aside. Put. Well, the book ain't gonna be like $50, but like just put some money aside, for a copy or two when that link come out. And just stay tuned for all the great things that are coming down the way. I'm just cannot begin to tell you how much it's exciting for me that I got this opportunity, a 6-figure book deal. I'm just just in awe of it. And this will be my debut book. I'm with a major, publisher. I'm with a major, a group, a good team. This is a dream come true. I've always wanted for a long time to write a book, and to be able to see that happen in this way. At this time is just monumental, and the topic is timely, right? Council culture is a timely topic. It's on everyone's lips. It's the buzzword right now of the moment, and there's just so much history there. And I want to quote the press release that went out directly that talks about what the topic is and everything, because I just think it's written so eloquently. The Case for Council Culture, which explores the deceptively long history of counseling and how council culture has proven to be a timely necessity aimed at combating systems of oppression, was basically sent to Cassidy Graham at St. Martin's, which is Cassidy Graham is my editor of the book, and a 6-figure deal and a preempt for publication in fall 2022 by Stephanie Winter at PS Literary Agency. That's my book publicist, my book agent. And that's the press release. You can read it, see the details. It's on my Instagram. But I'm excited about writing this book. I look forward to all the great opportunities coming up. And I just can't wait to just, share this with the world. So super excited. Um, this month has just been a joy. I mean, just wedding updates, because I know the people love the wedding updates. Um, so I'm starting to realize, like, okay, like I'm at the part of wedding planning where it's starting to get real. Right now, around this time, we're technically 4 months away from the wedding. We're 4 months away from the wedding now. We're around 4 months. It's getting there, y'all. It's coming. The clock is ticking. Um, and I'm not nervous. Like I'm just I'm not nervous about saying I do. I'm not nervous about the ceremony. I'm just like I just want to see everything come together, right? And so the first major things are happening, right? The wedding shower is next month. So I'm super excited about that. Mm, I'm drinking a gin and tonic. Shout out to George, one of my groomsmen. Or groom, yeah, he's a groomsman, but I have groomspeople because it's a gender neutral title. But shout out to my groomsman, George Banks Weston, who gifted me with a bottle of Seaville Orange vodka from Tanqueray. It's a flavored vodka, and it is gorgeous. It is a citrusy. It just gives me summer energy. I added some tonic to it with some lime juice, and it is good. It is good. It's what I need. It's a good sipper. Mm. So I need a sipper because, whew, wedding invitations are expensive as fuck. Now, let me just say this. I got on Zola and, went ham. Like, I did the invitations exactly how I wanted to. Mr. Johnson, my lovely fiance, um, you know, was like, we should do this color, we should do these things. So we just said, let's just do the invitations like in a perfect setting how we want, like with the paper, with the materials, with the design. Like let's do them exactly how we would envision them to be. I don't know if Zola has like a built-in like deceptive of discount codes to make you feel like your savings. I don't know what they were giving, but those invitations came out to be $565. I'm just gonna say whoever's coming to this wedding, all 100 of you all, right? Y'all better keep these invitations. That's all I'm gonna say. Y'all better frame them. Y'all better put them in a Y'all better frame them. That's all I'm gonna say. Y'all better keep them. They better not be a thank you and throw them in the trash. If I catch one of these invitations in the trash, so is you going in the trash. So is your invite. You better keep them. You better keep them at least to the wedding. You better put them in a heirloom box or something. God damn it, $465 damn dollars for some invitations. I, we have the money. It's not a problem. Clearly, it's just I was like, damn. That's a round trip plane ticket to LA or something. Like that's a first class situation, man. That's some real money. My rent used to cost $450 a month when I lived in a studio apartment. When I was just getting out of college. Now I'm at a place in my life years later where my wedding invitations cost more than how much I used to pay for my rent a month. I guess that's called growth. And this is a first world problem, but damn. But they were nice. They were nice. They're nice as fuck. I tell you that. They're nice as hell. They look good. My save the dates in comparison was like maybe 150 or 200. Like about 150 was for the save the dates. And Zola had a 50% off discount code. So I used that. But damn. Oof. But I wasn't going to be cheap. When you doing a wedding, like I told everybody, I made a joke and I said that this will be my first and my final wedding. Okay, we're going to make this work no matter what. Okay, clearly, because I was sitting there thinking about all the things I could have did with that money. But my wedding party, my wedding is worth it. The people coming, it's worth it. It's. I mean, listen. Let me just say, the invitation is worth the party. See, some people. Some about to throw shade. Okay, I'm just saying. Some people will have a wedding and will spend all this money on all the bells and whistles and the hype, and then you get to the wedding. And I've never been to a wedding like this, so I'm not talking about anybody I've went to, any weddings I went to, but I hear stories and I see pictures. But there are people who will go to weddings and they'll be like, wait, the invitation made me think I was going to like the ball of the century, and I go over here and this is at some party hall, whatever, and you got all this razzle dazzle, but I mean, wedding is supposed to be about love. It's supposed to be about all the other things. So let me not be superficial. But I say all that to say that the invitation is worth the paper and the parchment it's on for the type of event and a level of sophistication and loveliness and grandeur. I mean, this is a royal black queer wedding. And so it needs to have the utmost accessibility and divinity and nobility that makes it fabulous. So that's that. I'm excited. All right. One of the things that I've been like thinking about heavily, especially given the month that we're in, is Juneteenth. We're arriving at Juneteenth, and as a Texan, as a Houstonian, okay, as somebody who this whole Juneteenth is about, right? I don't know how I feel about this federal holiday. The U.S. House of Representatives passed, passed the bill into law that now is on its way to President Joe Biden's desk to be signed as law as Juneteenth National Independence Day. So this is going to happen. And, last year when it was the George Floyd protest, I don't have an issue with our people, black people, celebrating. I'm not one of these idiots that's on the internet like, oh my God, I can't believe, we're doing this, yada, 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 yada. Listen, I'm not one of those people that is shocked that there are black people across the country that celebrate Juneteenth for the first time. I'm not those type of people. I think that that's whack when people criticize other black people for experiencing, black things. Like, listen, the more the merrier, the more that's getting woke, I'm here for it. I think the thing for me is that white people are now about to get a day off work. And I don't even think they understand what they're celebrating. I don't even think they understand how this isn't really about them. And as much as I appreciate black people getting another day off work, I guess because they took MLK Day from us in the sense of taking it as a day of service, trying to make black people do service on MLK Day. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I don't do service on MLK Day because, to be quite honest, as a black person, I do service for a lot of things that I don't get properly paid for or attributed to. Cutting that down in my life, but it's always exploitation nonetheless. I was thinking to myself, white people, y'all better do some community service on this Juneteenth, okay? This ain't a day off for y'all at all. You need to be in some indentured servitude to the community. You need to do 8 hours of community service. This needs to be a day of service for y'all asses. What y'all taking a day off? What are y'all doing? Reflecting on what? Slavery that some of y'all gonna deny. It just makes me so sick that some of these Congress people, these senators who keep denying 1619, denying all these things, right, are now about to get another paid day off work off of some shit they don't even act like exists. Slavery don't exist, but y'all out here about to take a day off because of slavery. And if you actually looked up what Juneteenth, the holiday, is about, and actually understood the context, it's nothing to celebrate in that way. Not for white people to be happy Juneteenth. Do y'all? Too much. But it's obvious that people just don't do holidays. People just, look at flags and look at things and just say, oh, that's a black thing, so we're just going to read about that. Read about, like y'all learning about, Black Wall Street and all of that. Look up the shit that didn't happen on Juneteenth in Texas and understand the lives of white people and trying to suppress the freedoms of black people and how black people turned that shit around and made it be about what it's supposed to be. It's a big damn deal. Just stop. Just chill, people. But it's going to be a federal holiday, and, okay. Speaking of other things that are not okay, Pride Month, y'all. What the fuck? Now, let me say this. I don't know what's going on. There's stuff going on across the country with Pride. There's a lot of racism. There's been a lot of bigotry. This is a big issue. And I know that I've been, trying to get gayed up and enjoy Pride as much as I can. Jamarcus and I went to another Brittany Lynn drag mafia brunch. This time it was at the Wayward. The week before we went to the Sofitel and had their drag brunch tea. This one was the drag brunch at the Wayward, and it was fabulous. It was a full course brunch. We was drinking cafes of bubbly, boozy. It was lit. It was lit, and it was a fabulous time. And it's always a good time with my bestie, and enjoying the drag shows. It was outdoors, so it was a really much of a vibe. We was like in the heart of the neighborhood, and it was fancy, and it was beautiful, and the food was great, and the drinks were popping, and we brought tons of ones for the girls. Which was good because the last time we went, they have a thing where I'm happy they're doing this now with performance artists. Like if you go to a drag brunch or a drag show, you need to get some money. Now you can get ones or fives, but you need to have some coins. You need to get ones because you're supposed to tip the performers, y'all. Like they performing, they walking by, you better have $1 for them doing the act. So we made sure we got tons of ones, and we really tons of ones. We got tons of ones, and we made sure that we was ready to tip the girls. And the thing is that nowadays you can get your code and you can Venmo now and Cash App the girls and the performance if you don't have cash on deck. But it's nothing like being in a moment of being able to wave some dollars. I don't go to strip clubs, so I'm not saying they're strippers, but it's the closest thing to that type of venue space, to like having the money and the dance and the interlude and things. And people do it for burlesque shows too. But I just was like, I want to have the full experience. And I know there are people that go to these events and they don't know what to do. But to all these straight people that are crashing these damn things, going to drag stuff and being all an ally and all that crap, listen, you better have ones for the girls. Because I saw a lot of cishet people at the brunch and they did not know the culture. And some of them learned the culture quickly. I saw some Rittenhouse money, honey. They was having 10s and 20s. I said, oh, y'all balling over there. Maybe I should get up and do an act or two. But it was a good time. But nonetheless, with the exemption or the exception of a couple of Pride events, Pride has been a shit show in Philadelphia and across the country. There's a situation at Nelly's in D.C. There's a gay bar in Nelly's that removed a black woman, pulled her out. Security pulled her out by the hair, y'all, this month, and escorted her out. And there's been protests outside of that bar. And if you're in D.C., if you're one of my D.C. people, this bar is called Nelly's. As a black queer Philadelphian who has covered racism in my neighborhood, I stand in solidarity with the activists, the organizers, the people that are boycotting Nelly's in DC. I encourage the rest of you all to do the same. That's unacceptable behavior. You're doing this post George Floyd. Even if you did it pre George Floyd, it was fucked up. And at this point in the game, they've tried to do things like they're talking about, paid leaves for their employees. They're not going to work with the same security people anymore. That's not enough, because what it tells you, there's a culture. And as somebody who's done this work and has seen this happen in Philadelphia, it never starts or stops with one incident. It's a culture. What made those white men think that it was okay to pull this black woman by the hair and escort her out? People are trying to talk about what she may have said or did. It's always trying to look for the perfect victim. It don't matter. You don't take no black woman by the hair in a public establishment and escort them out. It's not okay. And so I just feel like there's a lot of internalized anti-blackness. I'm very disappointed in some of the black folks, some of the black gays in D.C., some of them who are trying to defend these white-owned establishments that don't give a fuck about them any other time of the day. There's other places to go, other people to do, other things to do too. Like we cannot continue to accept this level of anti-blackness in our community. So I stand in solidarity with the workers, with the patrons, with the community in there that is demanding for change and justice, because that shit is not acceptable. that shit is, it frustrates me. It frustrates me. So the issue I'm noticing and I'm seeing, and this is just something that is happening across all the prides, is that the pink washing is over the top. And pink washing is this term that is used to describe the roles of really capitalism, right? How corporations, basically, get on platitudes of supporting and trying to project these ideals, but they don't uphold them in their companies. It's a mask. It's flexing. It's very vapid promotion and fake solidarity, pretty much, of LGBTQ issues. And that's a lot of people that do pink washing. A lot of corporations do it, right? You see these companies put up pride flags during Pride Month, but then you find out stories about how they don't support LGBTQ employees. There's pay gaps. There's no diversity on their boards. But they project this story. It's very performative. And we see this happen during Black History Month. We see this happen all the time. But it's a big issue. And then we also have the issue around policing. There's conversations about should police be at pride parades. I don't believe they really should. If you understand the history of Pride, if you understand Stonewall, right, which is one of the biggest historic events of our time, whether you're gay, straight, cisgender, whatever, Stonewall was a riot against the police. But what also people forget to talk about is that it was also a protest against the mob control of queer-owned, LGBTQI-owned spaces. So a lot of people don't, it's not a lot of talk about the role of the mob. Now, what I appreciate about the Pose finale, right, the final season, is that with the character Elektra, she was working with the mob and doing some washing of money and things like that to get business going and running. And there was a lot of people that didn't understand that reference, and a lot of cishet people specifically, who did not understand that reference of like, why was the mob like this is not believable. Actually, it's very believable. If you actually do your history, there are famous mobs across New York, across different parts of the East Coast and whatnot, that had money invested in gay bars because those were places where they could be also able to do their quote unquote dirty business. And it was also a place that was, again, a lot of mobs did business in the most quote unquote sketchy places. And culturally speaking, the LGBTQ community was pariahs. Those bars, those areas were considered illegal. So they would frame them as other things, even though people knew what else they were. But there was a lot of other dirty business. And some of these mobsters, history records, also lived private lives. There was also having same-sex relations with some of the clientele there. And there was all types of things happening behind the scenes. But nonetheless, they were also exploiting those bars, right? Because these bars were not owned by trans people or by gay people or queer people. These bars were owned by mobsters who also did exhibit homophobia and violence towards members of the LGBTQI community. They were also ratting and calling the police and using the police as a way to shake up the bars so that they could cover their tracks. So they had these inside relationships with the police where, the police had to do their run-throughs and their raids, and they would, put basically LGBTQI people's lives in danger because it was, again, illegal to be gay. So the police would come out there and sweep people up that was at those bars, and that would be enough to take the heat off of the other shit that was going on at those bars. So when people talk about Pride, when people talk about Stonewall, understand that the police was not the only institution that had their heads on the chopping block. There was a lot of other things going on those nights at Stonewall. And again, mob rule and control was not desirable in the LGBTQI community. They didn't want to go to those bars and have to answer to those people, especially when those people also were homophobic and transphobic and harassed them and also were not true allies. They were pimping them out and exploiting them. And Stonewall was a protest against the police brutality and the harassment, but also the control of the mob too. When they were revolting and throwing those bricks, it wasn't just at the police. It was also at the institution. And there was an issue. And there had always been a long-standing issue at that time with the mob in there. So there's a fun history lesson here. That being said, understanding that history is why people need to understand why police are not the answer, and why I've argued. I wrote a piece for Philadelphia Magazine talking about Philly Pride Presents. So let me tell you about Philly Pride Presents. They've been around for over 30 years. They've been around for over 30 years. And it's been led by the same woman pretty much since the very beginning. And she has... Gotta keep it 100. She has really made this organization the most dated, boring, wackest pride in the country, especially amongst the major cities. Like, there was a ranking a couple years ago where they said that Philly was one of the worst cities in America for pride. And it's funny because people also consider Philadelphia, in certain parts of Philadelphia, one of the gayest cities in the country. But we got one of the wackest prides in the country, which can two things be true at the same time. The crazy part about it is that this doesn't have to be the case, but this is what happens when you have someone in leadership for a long time. This woman, her name is Franny Price. She's a long-time LGBTQ advocate. She's queer. She's white. She's older, and she's been in the community for years, decades, and she's built a reputation. You know, her power comes from hosting one of the biggest, most consistent pride celebrations in Philadelphia. She also does Outfest that co-aligns with National Coming Out Day that is in October, which is National Coming Out Day is October 11th, which is the day before my birthday, which is kind of cool. And Outfest is always around, I think, the first and second Sunday of October. So, you know, we have Outfest in the fall, you have Pride Month in the summer. So, you know, Franny Price always is busy. There's been numerous times where she has in the past said she was going to retire, that was going to be her last Pride. But for whatever reason, she keeps showing up and she keeps putting on this god-awful Pride. And there's been so many issues with Philly Pride Presents and Philly Pride, all this together. So Philly Pride Presents is named the 501c3 organization that is running Outfest and Philly Pride. My whole thing is they're charging people money to go to Pride. I'm already turned off by the fact that people are charging people money to go to Pride. Like, it's like tickets are like $15 and they still do the old fashioned tickets and stuff. It's just the method to which they do Pride events are just so dated and archaic and just so we do it this way every year. We're going to keep doing it for 5,000 more years. It's just so dated. And it would be okay if the fact that there's also some history of racism. So one of the senior volunteers and committee people over there at Philly Pride Presents is a man named Chuck Voss. And there was a story that was written in one of the local Philadelphia publications that exposed him for writing what was considered racist, misogynistic social media posts about immigration and Michelle Obama and, you know, all these very like Trump right-wing leaning stuff. Apparently a Trump supporter, just a lot of crazy shit. And at that time, I'm looking like, okay, this person needs to go. Because this was when Trump was still president. This was when the community was still, you know, going through its rounds and emotions about Trump being a president. And one of the lead senior, you know, people representing Philly Pride Presents is out here putting this type of racist shit on their social media pages unchecked. And meanwhile, the executive director, Franny Price, who's running this whole thing, is kind of like, oh, well, I can't, you know, control people doing their social media or whatever. But what I can say is they've been a member of the community. Like, basically defending the shit. Defending this person's ability to still serve. That should have been a sign from everybody that it was time to go. But, you know, people always want to extend grace to people who don't deserve it. So they kept it going. And now they're in deep shit. So one of the things that happened on the social media, because right now, Philly Pride Presents is not happening, like the Pride that we know today is not happening until September. This event is basically going to be around Labor Day weekend, I believe, which is around the same time as Made in America. So what the fuck? And let me say this about Philly Pride Presents. They always do their events around other major events. Like, I know that Odun Day used to kind of be around the same time as Pride, on the same exact weekend. It used to be a hot mess. Philly Black Pride would always happen the weekend of the Penn Relays, which I don't think that conflicts or contrasts. I think that, back in the day, I remember some of the track boys used to, be done with track and then find themselves at one of the little clubs downtown. So maybe, Penn Relays, the Greek weekend mixed in with the Black Pride. Maybe that makes more. Well, anyway, I would say that one of the interesting things about this entire experience has been the social media activity that's been happening with Philly Pride Presents. So, starting Memorial Day weekend, they decided to put up a flag that looked like basically a blue Lives Matter flag, which is also the blue thin line flag, which has also been attached to white supremacy and all these things that's connected to. And it's that flag that you all know, the black and white American flag with the one blue stripe in the middle. That flag, right, that many cops use, they did one of those flags, but except they turned the blue stripe into a rainbow type of ordeal, which was like, what the fuck is this? So that was triggering, and people caught on to it and complained about it, and it was drama. But then they kicked it up a notch, and they decided that they were going to now put up social media posts, okay, because they took it there, putting up a social media post about their retelling of Pride. So I was sitting here looking like, what the fuck is this? So I saw this come up, and a lot of people saw this on social media. But this was the moment where everybody was like, the song, Next Episode with Nate Dogg and Snoop Dogg and them, and they're like, hold up. It was the hold up moment where I was like, yeah, this ain't it. This ain't kicking it. And so I'm gonna read it to y'all because I just feel like hearing it will make all the difference. Let me pull up the post because I get my receipts because it was a screenshot that I shared the screenshots in this article. So I wrote this piece about boycotting Philly Pride Presents until there's new leadership. And this piece, got a lot of buzz. So this is what they said. And they made this post on June 10th. The Stonewall riots were exactly that. Those dressed as women that night refused to go with the officers. The police were going to transport the bar's alcohol in patrol wagons. But the patrol wagons had not yet arrived. So patrons were required to wait in line for about 15 minutes. The violence escalated until the police were outnumbered by between 500 and 600 demonstrators. Pennies were thrown at the police, then bricks. 10 police officers, including 2 policewomen, barricaded themselves, and several handcuffed detainees inside the Stonewall Inn for their safety. A parking meter was uprooted and used by the crowd as a battering ram. The riots in Pandemonium lasted 5 minutes, the crowds increasing every day. Okay. So those dressed as women that night refused to go with the officers? You mean black trans women? You mean gender non-binary people? What? It was the most bizarre post I had seen. And interesting enough, as you can imagine, they took these posts off their social media page. They deleted all of those 2 posts that they made. And people have been getting in the comments demanding answers, trying to figure out what's going on, trying to get them to fess up or say something new. And it's just been a shit show. It's been an entire shit show. They've been trying so hard to cover their tracks, cover their ass, and really try to act like, they don't know what's going on. And it's just like, who is managing your social media account? Because whoever that person is needs to get the fuck fired. Like, how is this person able to put this historical information up I heard there was like copy and pasting from the Wikipedia page, and then they're putting their own little spice and spin on it. It's just not a good look. It's just you already have a bad history of racism, and now this not looking good. But I don't want no parts of it. I've told people that, everyone's messaging me, texting me, calling me, like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? My thing is, we've been through this already. There's been take back pride events. There's been protests about it and boycotts. There's been all of that. And at some point, we have to get as a community where, I'm not saying that we don't speak up because we need to speak up, but we also have to stop pretending. Or let me just say this to white people, because it's the white folks this time, the white gay people in the community. Stop acting like you're surprised that this shit is happening. Rather than play the shock game, acknowledge it, see it for what the fuck it is, and act accordingly. And so how I act accordingly is, I'm not going to go. Until there's new leaders, until there's a new platform, until there's a new focus, I'm not going to go. I'm just not. And that's my prerogative. So thinking on this, because I mean, at this point, what else can you say? It's fuck Philly Pride Presents all day. But moving into another important topic, which is around this same conversation. I don't know if you've been following this woman who, I butcher her name. I'm going to butcher her name. Honestly, I don't care. She's a Nigerian writer. She's written good books. I'll give her that. But she is problematic in all of the many ways. And many people have called her a TERF, which is a trans exclusionary radical feminist. And these are women who, their feminism is supposed to be radical, right? They're supposed to have these ideas, but they exclude trans women from that. They don't consider trans women to be women, which is fucked up because trans women are women. Trans men are trans men. And trans women deserve every right to be in the space of the feminist movement. They are people that matter. They are experiencing sexism. They're experiencing all of those many aspects of the patriarchy that women are experiencing in society and institutionally. Her name is Chimamanda Adichie, and she is a Nigerian writer. She was quoted, as you all remember, in Beyonce's Flawless music video and song. And it was the line about, we teach girls to be, she goes into that. And then she says, feminist. She gives a definition of a feminist. And that insertion of her famous speech that she did got included in Beyonce's song, Flawless, which gave her a larger than life platform, that she was a part of this major cultural moment that is forever enshrined in history. Her books went on to be New York Times bestsellers, and she began to get lots of buzz and honors and recognition and everything. But then she started to get on public record saying some very transphobic shit about real women and making these very fucked up thoughts and whatnot. And you can Google those things, because I'm not going to amplify her transphobia on my show, but you can easily look it up. So the issue here is that she wrote a piece for the New Yorker a few days ago, and she was talking about, in a nutshell, and I'm not even going to give everything too much amplification, but just went on this whole tirade about social media and critics and young people and folks being judgmental and no grace and thinking they're holier than thy, and the limitations of the public and public pressure and people lying on her and all of this stuff. And then the same day, there was an article came out about Kevin Hart, complaining about cancel culture. You see where I'm going with this, y'all. Complaining about cancel culture and just talking about, how he can't, as a comedian, he can't, be as funny as he used to be or make the jokes because pretty much, he's, scared of this, that, and the third. And, Kevin Hart, in spite of all of this talk about being canceled, has continued, even after being disinvited from hosting the Oscars, which would have been a big moment for him, to not refusing to apologize for his past homophobic ways, to acting like he was being crucified, but continuing to make millions and millions and millions of dollars, okay, for his comedy. One of the highest paid comedians in our era. And continues to get booked in movies and shit, but played into this narrative that, somehow, he was being canceled. He was this victim, fucking victim. And someone made a joke on Twitter that was along the lines of like, I can't wait to see the next comedian tell us how he's canceled in some major full-fledged front cover magazine interview, followed by a six-figure streaming platform Netflix special with a sold-out concert and show. Right. Because pretty much that's bullshit, right? Like, Kevin, where are you being canceled, dog? Like, what have you really lost? And the same thing goes to the Nigerian writer who is a TERF, right? Who is acting like there's this new wave world of people. And see, I'm preaching right now because I'm thinking about my book. And I'm thinking about how much I'm going off about this in the book. And I want to give it all to y'all. But like, I'm just saying, like, it's just getting to the point where these people in power complain so much about all the little things. But here's the issue. We live in a society where, motherfuckers, you're getting all this money and all this attention. You're demanding so much. I gotta put on my fucking TV. You're taking up 30 seconds of my TV time to promote your stupid ass movie with your bad, mediocre ass acting and your horrible short jokes and your whack tropes. Like, Kevin Hart is not funny. I don't know who thinks Kevin Hart is funny, but Kevin Hart is not fucking funny. You know who's funny? Cat Williams. Cat Williams is fucking funny. He's a short man that knew how to make short jokes about himself. But he also was a big, bold man who said what needed to be said at times where the rest of the world was not. I mean, some of his jokes and critiques about, big celebrities and major celebrities is some of the best content. His earlier content, I highly encourage you to watch it. That being said, Kevin Hart has lost his flavor after, I remember the last time he was funny. This shall hurt, or this pain, feel my pain, maybe, whatever that was. I mean, probably the last time he was like funny. I mean, because those were the first time he was saying those jokes. But I feel like ever since now, he's always, make the corny family man jokes. The same man who cheated on his wife for some random white woman in a car, and everyone saw it, and then tried to act like it was his friend's fault for not covering up his fuck shit, and walked all over his wife. But then let's not forget that the wife he got currently was when he cheated on his last wife for the other new wife, and then she got what she got because you know what they say, how you get them is how you lose them, girl. But canceled? Come on. This is a joke. This is a fucking joke. And then you got TERFs out here that's getting full-fledged New Yorker opportunities to talk about or critique this cancel culture, but they're getting big mainstream outlets where thousands upon thousands of their fans are talking about how they dragging and snapping. And to be quite honest, it wasn't even all that. It was just a rich person ranting about woe is I and my first world degree fucking problems. Okay. A round of applause. So yeah, I just had so many thoughts, and I just put them in my writing, and I can't wait for you all to read them. Read more of it, because it just makes me so mad. Kevin Hart is it's just so annoying. Like, I don't like Kevin Hart. I can tolerate Tiffany Haddish as a person, but Tiffany Haddish is not funny either, y'all. I mean, I will say this. When I I first watched Girls Trip, I was hysterical the first time. I just remember laughing so much and having a good time at the theater. Barry and I had watched it, actually, my fiance. He and I watched it and thought it was funny. Like, the first time we watched it, we thought it was so funny. And, like, Kofi, that actor who's also in Queen Sugar, who was Jada Pinkett Smith's love interest, which he is super young. I think a lot of people think he's like in his 30s. He's like in his like he's younger than me. He's a very cute man, a very attractive man. He's a very good looking actor. He's a good actor too, and I love the fact that he can cry on cue. But I was looking at Jada like, so you always was like you was trying to get in some entanglements, girl, because between August Alsina and Kofi, I mean Kofi, I'm not saying they got any entanglements. Let me be clear, but I mean she clearly got an entanglement with August Alsina. I'm just like, I mean, I'm surprised. Well, Jada and Will did survive that because that was a moment, y'all. Do y'all remember that Red Table Talk? Now they're doing situations where I was hearing that they're doing some steam in their vaginas. The girls got these things. I don't know what was going on. I don't know what Jada was. Red Table Talk has like lost its way. It used to be a really good show where it was hot because they were talking about some serious shit. But then it's become, I feel like, the redemption tour for every quote unquote celebrity that claims they're canceled. So every time somebody got an issue, they go on Red Table Talk and try to like cover their ass. So like, for example, when T.I. was talking about, checking his daughter's hymen and crazy shit like that. And now this motherfucker is now being investigated for human trafficking. We're surprised what the fuck that happened. It was the same man who was defending Bill Cosby. You should have known the signs, what was going on. If it looked like a duck, talk like a duck, quack, 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 that's a duck. But, people was letting him get away with it. People was letting him do his thing. People was really whatever. But like Red Table Talk has become this thing now where I feel like everybody who's about to get canceled, they had the girl from USC, Lori Loughlin's daughter, whatever, who came on there trying to, act like, oh, I don't know what my parents was doing, yada, yada, yada. Fuck out of here. Like, this is the stuff that they do. And they get away with it. And people watch it. But at some point in time, I've got it to a point where I'm like, okay, so what y'all do now is, first of all, none of the people at that table are certified therapists. Like, I don't know what Jada Pinkett Smith be doing, but Jada, you're not a certified therapist. And I think it's important to start naming things. When people say they go to therapy now, I'm like, do you go to a certified therapist? One of my best friends is in clinical psychology. She's all into therapy. She encourages in the Black community. She is my best woman at my wedding, Amanda Parks, which is going to be one of these days Dr. Parks. She's doing her thing, man. She is very, we talk about therapy, we talk about all these different things and clinical stuff. And she gets so annoyed when she sees all of these faux ass self-help people, self-care experts and everybody's brand themselves to be these experts on wellness and shit. And that shit needs to stop. Okay, because where do you get your information from? A bunch of memes, lemon teas, green teas, green smoothies and deep breaths and hot stone massage. Like, stop that shit. Cut it the fuck out. A lot of people are like doing that now, and it's so annoying. Like, it's time to like crack down on it because there are people that's getting ripped off. I mean, like life coaches, for example. What is a life coach? Don't answer that. Like, I just. The words, the language, the stuff that people are using, I'm not saying that they're not professional career coaches. That's a different type of space, right? Helping somebody with their career is different. But who the fuck is giving people life? What are you doing? And are you degreed to have this? Do you have certifications in this? There's a lot of people out here flexing this type of stuff. And I'm over it. It's a done bun for me. It's a done bun for me. So, I say all I have to say. I'm taking my breather, but I'm just telling people we just no more. Jada, I think Jada needs a break from the show. I think she needs to take some time to take a break from the show. I feel like the show is becoming a farce. I believe Red Table Talk had a moment and then it lost its moment because I think it was the perfect thing for the pandemic. But then after, like now as we get out of the pandemic, I'm like, I don't really care about these celebrities and some of their fake ass life-changing inquiries and shit. I'm just over it. So that's my perspective altogether. Just keep it at 100. I knew this was going to happen. I knew this was going to be a thing. And I wanted to talk about this because you all have been asking me about it. And this is a Philly thing. Let me just start that off. But everybody's been asking me about the strippers strike in West Philly. This event that has happened, it's gotten some, social media attention. People are talking about it. It's strippers that go to Malcolm X Park. They perform, but they go to a section that does not involve the kids. Apparently, they're giving out tampons, essential materials for the community. There's food. There are men that can come and they can, or anyone technically, not just men, but anyone can come and tip the girls for their performances, because sex work is work, sex work is labor. Labor should be, paid, should be, compensation. And so these performers are, doing some tricks on the pole and doing their thing, and they're getting compensated for it. No problem. But there's been some criticism. Okay, you got, of course, the folks that people consider as slut shaming, right? What about the kids? What about the this? What about the that? Those people, right? And my thing is that people ask me what I think about it. And I would just say that, I have done some more research. I have heard from people who know the creators of it. They're natives. They're performers of color. They live in West Philly. They live in the neighborhood, and they believe that they're doing this is going to spread awareness about the issues, and they want to be in community. That's what they're saying. They want to be in community. That they don't look at themselves. They see other organizing groups and mobilizing groups that get support by the community at large, and they have their issues with the injustices happening to them, and they want to be in community and meet people where they are, and all these type of things. And that's their right to pursue. I'm not in a position to tell them not to pursue that. I mean, sex work and sex exploitation is a real issue, and people should look into it. People should think about it, and that's important. If you're asking me what my opinion is, and there have been people who have asked me, and this is my podcast, and the podcast is called Ernestly Speaking, and people want to hear me speaking on these issues and topics. I just think that I just would like to see people support it more so that it can do more within its accessibility and scope. I think the optics right now does not look good for them, because the question becomes, if we're having a stripper strike, why must the strike only be in a black neighborhood at an under-resourced park? I know it's Malcolm X Park. People say, well, what about Malcolm X? Well, history tells us that Malcolm X did sex work for a white man before he became the activist we know today. A reinvention, by Merrill Mabel, that won a Pulitzer Prize, for history. This incredible book talked about how Malcolm X may have over-exaggerated his criminal past before he joined the Nation of Islam. When he was Detroit Red. They talk about that, he may have been involved in sex work and same-sex relations with a white man before his conversion, right, to Islam. So there's a lot of interesting things about him, and the book is powerful, and the author died right around the release, which was wow, right? But he posthumously won a Pulitzer Prize. And then now The Dead is Rising, which is written by Les Payne and his daughter Tamara Payne, who also won the Pulitzer this recently for history about Malcolm X's life. That author, Les Payne, who was also a founder of the National Association of Black Journalists, he passed away posthumously before he received that Pulitzer Prize. So it's something interesting about writers and Malcolm X books and things. But there's multiple books about Malcolm X out there, the Alex Haley version. But a reinvention is, to me, the definitive Malcolm X book. For me, personally. I've read The Dead is Rising. Very great book. Worthy. Wonderful book. I've read the autobiography for Malcolm X, which is what inspired Malcolm X, the Spike Lee film, of course, Spike Lee joint with Denzel Washington, who should have won an Oscar. As we see that movie version, there was a lot of creative licenses there with certain aspects of his life, and obviously they made it for the cinema. But I wonder what it would look like to see Malcolm X. There's been some more Malcolm X movies that's come out, but not about Malcolm X, but his character, of course, One Night in Miami, The Godfather, of Harlem. A lot of other films have come out to talk about Malcolm X in some new ways, but I would be curious to see another movie that's just another redone. I think it's overdue. Right? We're 30 years since the original Malcolm X, 25 years? About close to 30 years. It's going to be close. It's time. It's been 30 years. We can get a new Malcolm X film. I believe so. But anyway, I started to say that that park is an underutilized park, resource park. It doesn't get the same amount of resources as like a Clark Park or a Penn Park or a Rittenhouse Park. And I just would wonder if this protest, I just feel like if it continues to stay at Malcolm X Park, the message and the larger message is going to fall on it to the same ears. It should go citywide. They should be going to various parks. They should be disrupting space. Because they say they're in community, but there is a disruption, right? It's about strike. It's provocative. It is meant to disrupt. I mean, I get the argument about normalize, but you can't normalize something without the community being on context because it's still a shocker to people, right? Even if the children are not on that side of the park, it's just a lot, right? For example, people should have not been allowed to videotape, but the problem is that you can't create community buy-in without community buy-in. You just can't go to a community and say you're establishing this norm and the community themselves have not been invested or involved in that buy-in to the point where it doesn't feel like it's being a disruption. I'm not saying that group has not made the efforts to do that. I'm just saying that the optics of it right now is I think there's some contention there. I think I can see the purpose of the event. I can see why the idea happened. I can see the purpose. And I think there's no shame in the labor and in the message, but I do think optics and how it's being received. It's like if the very community is not receiving it that way, what can be done? What other efforts prior to the event needs to be done to reinforce and reiterate this or to do more advocacy and awareness? But there's just doing the event is always going to create the shock jaw effect, which will wane, right? But is the impact matching? I don't know. I just wonder. Because it is in my side of the town. It is in West Philly. I don't live that far from Malcolm X Park. It is in that vicinity. It's in that area. So it's just interesting to see it. With that being said, pay sex workers. If you're out here, pay them. Pay them. Speaking of things that it's not worth paying for. Strippers are, but this is it. In the Heights. So I, for a long time, have told y'all that Lin-Manuel and Miranda is trash. Lin is trash. I've been telling people this forever. Two-time Pulitzer winner, can't take that from him. Genius MacArthur Grant winner, can't take that from him. He got a Tony, he got a Grammy, he's got an Emmy, but he doesn't have an Oscar. He's close to getting an EGOT, y'all. Creative. He's given us In the Heights. He's given us Hamilton, which is one of the most successful Broadway musicals of all time. Hated it. Never liked Hamilton. Never rocked with Hamilton. Never liked the fact that Hamilton just always felt like weird and just glorified slave owners and was just very, just a very corny appropriation of hip hop in a way that I just felt like was cheesy. I just never was into Hamilton. People really like Hamilton. I never saw it. I saw it, but I never saw it for it. I never was here for it. Just never hit me. I know people love the soundtrack. I'm just like, these songs are, with the exception of Speechless, which is a great song for a musical. The rest of that can go. And I like me some, some good diversity, right? They do. They got, some good diverse actors, talented actors, people who've done great work, who've won Tonys for their performances. It's all good on that front. But the issue is what is the content about? What is the stories about? I don't know how I felt about Black Man playing Aaron Burr. I get a diversity, but just like making, the villain a Black man is just also, kind of like, don't know how I feel about it. But Lin-Manuel Miranda, he's always been a problem. He's always had issues. He's always been problematic. He's always apologizing for the shit he's done. And yet he plays it like he doesn't know what's going on. and that's always been weird, and he casted non-white actors as the founding fathers, and then other historical figures, and they claimed that it was America then as told by America now, and I was like, really? Is that what we're saying? Is that how we're going to spin this? Okay. So, Leslie Odom Jr., who's an incredible actor, went on to kill this role and won the Tony. He beat Lin Manuel Miranda for Best Actor. And that was shocker because everyone just thought Lynn was going to win, but Leslie Odom Jr. killed it as Aaron Burr. He had a great performance, and then Renee Elise Goldsberry, she also won a Tony for best feature actress, and she killed her performance, and that's where the song "Speechless" come from. And then Daveed Diggs also won a Tony, and it just everybody was winning good awards. And then Philippa Sue, she didn't win, but she was nominated for best actress for playing, Eliza Hamilton, which was Alexander Hamilton's wife. So everybody was killing it. I mean, everybody was killing the performances and doing their thing. So I mean, very impressive. I was very here for it. But yeah, it was just some great performances all across the board. But that being said, because we just got to keep it 100. And In the Heights, the original In the Heights, I remember when they did the tour. I saw In the Heights when I was in college. They did a cross country tour. This was years ago. Oh my goodness! And they came to Philly. I don't know if y'all remember that when In Heights came to Philly. This was like, back in 2011, 2010. It was like early, but it was like when they were first, when they had won the Tony for Best Musical. And I remember they did the tour, and I saw the show. We was in a nosebleed seat because it was Penn, and they bought us the tickets at the last minute. And we also saw Beat and Beast on Broadway, not Broadway, in Philly. And I got to see a lot of musicals actually when I was in college, which was kind of cool. I also saw On the Mountaintop, which is phenomenal. That's not a musical, but that was with Angela Bassett and Samuel Jackson. They killed it. But anyway, random. I'm a theater geek too. So that In the Heights was diverse. There was black and brown, Puerto Rican actors and actresses. That In the Heights was in, Washington Heights. So there was diversity, there was color, there was flavor. I mean, it reflected the New York Puerto Rican scene as we know it, that area. It was just full of color. And the musical was great. I mean, the music was good. It was good energy. It just felt like the scene. It just knew the assignment, basically, right? Well, when the In the Heights cinematic version came out, which was recently, it's on HBO Max, I was like, where the black people at? Where the Puerto Rican? Where the Afro Latino, the Latinx folks? Where is the dark hues? Where is the melanin? It was sucked out of the fucking film. They had that one actor, Corey Hawkins, who played Dr. Dre's character in Shredder Compton. They had him in the film, but the whole film was full of very, 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 very light-skinned, white-passing Latinx people, Puerto Rican people, and I said, this is colorist as fuck. But let me tell you something about myself. I know my place. As a journalist, as a writer, as a person who does cultural criticism, I know that, look, I'm a black person. I'm just black, y'all. I don't do all that. I'm this, I'm that. I'm just black, okay? I did not feel like it was my place to censor and my voice and prioritize over Afro Latinx voices. I was curious to see what darker skinned Puerto Ricans thought primarily, right? This was an offense to them. I wanted to celebrate and amplify their work and tell people about it and share their work, because sometimes you got to know your presence. And that's one thing about me I try to do. I'm always, as much as I can, right? Because sometimes, hindsight, right? But I'm always intentional in trying to make sure I'm not taking up space on a particular issue that doesn't directly involve me or my particular community. Mark Lamont Hill can learn a lesson or two about that. A couple of people can learn a lesson or two about that. Ta-Nehisi Coates can learn a lesson or two about that. Anyway, a lot of people can learn a lesson or two about not taking up space. and that there's some people who need to be amplified up. Now we amplify voices when when we're not the voice, because in some cases you have a platform to privilege, retweet, share other people's work that talk about an issue that may not directly impact you. You shouldn't always want to be the spokesperson of everything. I think that has been a saving grace in my career, because as much as people have come to me and said, Ernest, I want you to come on air to talk about this, I want you to come on here and talk about this, I'm like, yo, I'm not trans, I can't talk about transgender issues, but I can tell you some people that are non-binary and trans that can talk about those particular issues. No, I'm not a black woman. I don't think it's my place as a black man to talk about this particular black woman's issue, but I know a black woman that can talk about that, right? Like, point people to the directions to which you cannot do. There's too many people that are trying to be experts for everything, every cause, every topic. And it's one thing to talk about it in your circle, on your own platform, your own podcast, but when you're taking up industry space, when you're taking up panel space, when you take up paid opportunities from people to talk about things that specifically directly impact them, that's the problem. So I have learned the things that I can talk about and the things that I feel comfortable talking about based on what I know is my lane. Pick a motherfucking lane. But see, greed has people in positions where they don't want to pick a lane because they're always in a space of thinking that anything that's offered to them means that automatically the person giving it to you have thought about you for it. Sometimes motherfuckers are lazy. Sometimes people just be like, LGBTQI month, trans issue, he's black, he's gay, trans enough, right? They'll just shove you into something. And it's up to you to use your discernment to say, you know what, actually, I'm not beat for this. Actually, I can't be on that panel. Actually, this is not my space. Actually, I'm not an expert on this. Actually, I know someone else who can talk about this. That is what you do. And when more people do that, we will address the inequities in our community. We will address a lot of the inequities. We will not alone solve these problems by ourselves, but we can help alleviate some of the disparity. I see too many black trans women. I see too many black women. I see too many black queer people like myself that are oftentimes being told to sit to the side while some cishet person who does not have our experience is talking over us and talking on behalf of us. We got to get to a point where we have to, fall back. And I've been consistently doing that in my career. That's why whenever I do make an appearance, I don't look dumb or I don't feel like I'm out of place a lot of times because I'm in the comfort zone. But trust me, there were people that were setting me up for failure without realizing it. About to have me up on TV getting tweeted at, getting dragged because I'm on here talking about some shit I ain't got no business to talk about. And so with this situation with the In the Heights, I'm talking about on my podcast because I'm looking at the writers and the people who've talked about it. There's a great piece in The Root that addresses this issue. I encourage you to go to The Root and read it. It got responses from Lynn Manuel Miranda, right? There's people already talking about this. That's the stuff that matters. And you're supposed to share that work and tell people about that work. That's what you're supposed to do. I'm not going to sit up here and censor myself in that. I can only talk as a person who viewed it, as a person that's in solidarity and support of the Afro-Latinx community, especially those Puerto Ricans from Puerto Rico that feel like this film does not reflect their community. That's what they're saying. And as someone who is black in the community, I understand colorism. I understand, as somebody who is not light-skinned, okay, that has been told comments about, stay out of the sun before you tan yourself. I'm not super dark, but I'm light. I'm not light skinned either. I'm dark brown but dark tan. But I've had people say colorist things to me like, if you stand out too long in the sun, your tan you're gonna get super dark or you're gonna get too dark. And it's like, what does that mean? What the fuck? Like, what does that mean? And there's a lot of people that say stuff like this. Or I hear people talk about my complexion. Like, I have an even tone because, I make sure I keep my skin, together. And I mean by keep my skin together, I clean my skin. I clean myself. I don't have pores or acne. And so my tone is even. There's no, dark spots or whatever from shaving and things like that. I had someone tell me one time, they said, oh my goodness, you was in the sun too long. You starting to look burnt. Like, what is that? What's wrong? What the fuck is wrong with people? People are fucking color struck and people think that shit is cute. It's time to check people. It's time to tell people, stop telling people to get out of the sun because you're getting too dark. Stop fucking doing that. And so when I see and hear these things, I tell people that's fucked up. That's I'm like, that's colorist. We don't say that. That's not okay. Dark-skinned people are fine. Dark-skinned people are okay. Dark-skinned people are beautiful. Dark-skinned people are minding their fucking business and living their lives. How about you? That's what you do. And so, again, we see this colorism that took place. This movie flopped with all that mostly light-skinned Puerto Rican cast, which goes to show you that racists that don't like stuff isn't going to like things, right? Like, no matter how much some people in the Latinx community or other communities think that by lightening their skin complexion or trying to make themselves look like they're something else, that somehow white people are going to somehow, value them more. It's like, well, do you want to be valued by white supremacists? Because understand that today they might like you because you're lighter, but tomorrow they'll find something else to be mad about. Your hair texture, your accent or something. Like, it never stops. And if you feed into these anti-black tropes, you are perpetuating a very white supremacy that's going to end you in the end. It's enough. We have to put our foot down as a community. We have to continue to shame people and to understand that this shit is not okay. That if we're going to say Black Lives Matter, that we need to acknowledge that all Black Lives matter. All. And all of their tones and melanin. And we cannot keep perpetuating this. I don't know how many times Lin-Manuel Miranda is going to keep fucking the fuck up. And then he sits there and he's listening and he's understanding, he's this. I'm so sick of that. Like, dude, you are one of the most educated men in the industry. You have sat up here and done all of these solidarity letters and you give all these speeches and get all passionate. You do all this performative ass shit. You went to the Tonys 5 years ago and did all this love is love and love is love and all this stuff. And it's just like, and you still do shit like this. You fucking knew what was going on. You're in the community. You know colorism exists. You know that shit exists. Your musical had the color that you didn't have in the film. And that's why I tell people, all this POC, people of color, that's the blanket umbrella term everybody wants to use now. People of color, people of color, people of color, POC, BIPOC, BIPOC, and all this. Listen, when it's all said and done, moments like this reminds us that anti-blackness anywhere is anti-blackness everywhere. That in the same vein, while people will say that they experience racism, if it's a non-black person, they will perpetuate the same anti-black racism within their own communities. They do not respect intersectionality. They don't respecting different skin tones and hues. They don't. They will still try to recreate something close to whiteness, even in spaces that are not white. Latina Dad and celebrating these cultures means recognizing and acknowledging the diversity. And there are people that were like, oh, I'm not going to, be miserable and be mad and y'all not going to discourse me out of In the Heights. I just want joy. If you're a light-skinned person saying that, you're a part of the problem. It's easy for you to experience joy in a society and a world that isn't questioning your existence, not threatening your melanin, not threatening your right to exist and be. It says something about the privilege in that. You have the privilege to make that type of move, to have that kind of dialogue, to make those type of decisions. It's not everybody's opportunity to. There's a lot of motherfuckers that need to check their fucking privilege at the door. Period. So I'm not crazy about the movie. I thought the movie was just like another one of these played out West Side Story type stories. It's just so played out. And they're doing a West Side Story remake. And I heard about what Rita Moreno said. Listen, she's got an EGOT. She's legendary. She's a legendary Puerto Rican actress. She's great. The sad part is that because she's so caught up in all the other drama in her own career, not her own career, but just copy the drama. She was defending this man on the late night show. And I'm just sitting here looking like, how are you defending this man on national television? Saying, oh, can we just move ahead and leave that alone or go back to it later? What? Referring to the critiques about the colorism. It's like, well, but full disclaimer, Lin-Manuel Miranda supported her documentary about her life and, is a friend of hers and a colleague and all this jazz. So I'm just like, okay, so you yeah, she was on Stephen Colbert making comments that were just kind of cringy. It was kind of sad, but she's a legend. And just like, I get it. He's funded your project and supports you, so you good with him. But like, that doesn't stop the critique. But I digress. Oh goodness. I mean, listen, there's better musicals out there. There's plenty of good musicals to watch. I was watching something the other day. Speaking of musicals, because this is random, but you all been asking me about verses. Like, what do I think about verses? What do I have to say about verses? There's the Trina versus Eve, the first ever female rap versus battle that's taken place so far. My thing about verses is that it was cool and then it got uncool. It was the savior of the pandemic last year. It was a cool concept. It was a moment, but then it got played out. It's played out to me. I mean, it's now June 2021 and we're still doing verses. And it's like, the thrill, the excitement, like the days of, I mean, Erykah Badu hates me actually, y'all. She banned me on Twitter after I was talking about her remarks about R. Kelly being Uncle R. Kelly, and I was like, yeah, it's problematic. And also, it was something else. She was talking about girls and skirts and stuff. Erykah Badu just, a little hoteppy sometimes, but she blocked me on her Twitter account, and it is what it is there. But I liked the one with her and Joe Scott on Versus, and I thought that was one of the best ones. And of course, Brandy and Monica was good, even though the attitudes it was a little tight in there. The Gucci Mane and the Young Jeezy one was historic. But Versus it's just. I think what happened with Versus is that it was something that was meant to just be a moment, a fun moment, and it was something cool. And then capitalism. And that's just really what it is. This is capitalism. Capitalism came knocking on the door and somebody was like, y'all gotta make money off of this. Somebody came in and was like, y'all gotta make money. And then it became, the Ciroc stuff was like, okay. But like, it just got too much. And then now they're working with Thriller or whatever. And I can only imagine that eventually Versus will lose its black angle. And eventually they'll start doing Versus with like white artists very soon. And, because they've done, I remember Patti LaBelle and Gladys Knight. That was cool, right? Isley Brothers versus Earth, Wind, and Fire. Probably one of the best ones ever, and that was just fun to watch. But some of these verses, like I said, they just have gotten just very cheesy, or just, I don't know. The issues I've been seeing lately with some of the verses is that they've been really, lately, getting really, like, cringy. Like, supporting problematic-ass people. Like, Russell Simmons, who's been accused of rape by multiple women over the years. I was just on a special Spaces Twitter conversation with an incredible black woman named Drew Dixon, who has been one of the women who accused Russell Simmons of sexual abuse and was a big Def Jam, exec and influencer over there. She was a mover and shaker back in the 90s. And she, tells a horrific story about how she was raped by Russell Simmons. And it was a horrific story. And the retaliation and how she kind of got, her career just took a different turn because of that trauma. And it's just so sad. But Russell Simmons, makes a pop-up appearance on an episode of Versus. And it's like, what? Y'all still trying to make Russell Simmons that dude, Uncle Russ and Uncle Rush and all that. Like, we gotta stop. We really gotta stop. Like, what? And then following that, there was Tiny in Escape versus SWV. And I'm just like, y'all just gonna let Tiny be on there like Tiny ain't right now being investigated with her husband for sex trafficking and abuse and whatnot. Like, these are serious allegations and there's no accountability. There's no, hey, this ain't a good look. Y'all letting people have image repair on y'all fucking show. Y'all just gonna ignore the elephant in the room. And it's interesting because, whatever, Candy. Like, Candy, you talk about being, a victim of someone accusing you and things and lying on you and, acknowledging these things happen to people. And then this is what happens. And just the hypocrisy. It's the hypocrisy for me. But, money, capitalism. But following this Trina versus Eve versus, which is just interesting. I don't even know who wins that. Eve is clearly a better lyricist than Trina as far as like a better rapper. She's just had a more in-depth sound and meaningful music. Like, Love is Blind is a beautiful song. I mean, Trina's talking about having an ass so big as a sun. And there's nothing wrong with having an ass so big as a sun. Trust me, I don't have any issues with that. But I just feel like the substance, that like this is not a good mix. I mean, yes, Eve has had her Gwen Stefani collaborations and Who's That Girl and Let Me Blow Your Mind and Tambourine. Oh my goodness. Eve was, she had the hits, right? But she's got Grammys and she's worked with way better producers. And Trina, it's Diamond Princesses. Kelly Rowland collaborations. I'm single again. I mean, it's not the, here we go. I mean, it's just very, I would have, Trina should have went against, not Kaya, but that would have been closer to her. Kaya only had like one major hit. Okay, My Neck, My Back, which, outsells most of Trina's discography nonetheless, but Kaya is also problematic. But that being said, I don't know who Trina would have went against. Maybe Foxy Brown. I know people want Lil' Kim to go against somebody. I mean, Lil' Kim is a legend in her own right. Some verses just don't make sense. But that being said, there was the verses where they were pushing the whole conversation around. So Shad Moss is going against, which is, of course, Bow Wow, is going against Soulja Boy. Cortez White. Let me just say this. Soulja Boy is currently on trial around rape allegations. His assistant, who's a woman, because this, I'm not going to go there. So there's been an issue. There's been allegations. He was, arrested. He's been put on trial. There's an investigation around him. He was accused earlier this year, or the year before, I believe, recently, for locking in his assistant and then raping her for several hours on end or whatever, locking her and keeping her without her will, out of her consent, rape, sexual assault, sexual abuse, just all of it, right? And he's been accused of that by his former assistant. And he denies the allegations, but they're strong, and there's an investigation. There's a whole situation going on. This man is getting a platform, and people are just like, okay, because people still don't want to believe victims, in that kind of way. Fucked up. I'm not watching it. I'm not gonna watch it. Just not going to. And I've really been not watching a lot of these verses lately because of some of this shit, because I just feel like at the end of the day, you're an important part of the culture, right? Timberland and Swiss Beats, create this show, and now they're, once again back in the conversation as pioneers and people who've done something, what they did for the music industry, what they did for Black artists during this time. It is something momentous. But then with that power, they have actually has dampened the value of it, because they've given some very problematic people these platforms, right? And that's just kind of fucked up. So yeah, I just can't get down with it right now, just personally. So wrapping this all up, I have been super excited. Just this random guilty pleasure. Love and Hip Hop Atlanta is coming back this July. I know that may not be important to a lot of you all. I know there's other TV shows going on. I'm trying to watch this show called BT Presents the Encore, which, let me just say this, I have been watching it. Okay, it just started, so it's only a couple episodes in, and I must say it is very juicy. So to give you the abridged version, because I don't know how else to say it, they got a bunch of has-been, old, forgotten, but talented, mostly talented, Black female artists, with the exception of the white girl who was on Danny Kane. But everyone else is Black. And basically, I wonder if they could have just got Dawn. But, what do I know? I remember Dawn was who was basically on Danny Kane. There was all this Richard, like Richard, like it was like I used to call her Don Richard, but it's Don Richard, and people like play into all these accents and things, but it's a lot. But on this show, okay, you have a lot of these artists. It's like 8 of them trying to be a girl group, a super girl group, and I think it's like 8 or 9 girls trying to be on this this show. Be a super. They're trying to be a girl group. All these girls from different groups, and so I want to make sure I'm accurate with this this show because I want to make sure I'm naming the right people because it's just juicy. So basically, the way that is the best way to describe this show is like it's a lot of quote unquote iconic artists. They are trying to make a name for themselves. Um, I want to. Okay, so it's on BT. Let me just start there. It's on BT, and it's a hot mess, but it's a good hot mess. So one of the things that's interesting is that basically all of these girls apparently this happened apparently during the summer, but basically Keely Williams, which you all know her from the Cheetah Girls, she's trying to do a lot of stuff about girl groups. Keely Williams was Cheetah Girl. She was in 3LW, and she's working with like 8 other former girl group members. So they're like all of these girls come from girl groups, and she is working with them to like basically form the next R&B super girl group on the show. And if you can imagine 9 girls from R&B groups in one house trying to create a Supergirl group, it's nothing but ego. It's nothing but drama. I mean, the girls are catty. There's some girls on there that's trying to, make good with themselves, but a lot of it is, you know, it's a lot of cattiness. It's a lot of just trash talking, Shadesville. It's a lot. So the girls that are on the show, the cast members is a woman named Shamari DeVoe, which is from the group Black, Irish Grinstead and Lamisha Grimstead from 702, Nivea Nash, the girl with Don't Mess With My Man. That girl, Fallon King from Cherish, and Felicia King from Cherish. Now, those are the girls. Remember that song? Do it, do it, do it, do it. So the two of them are the twin girls from Cherish, the group. And then Pamela Long from Total. And then Aubrey O'Day from Danny Kane. That's the white girl. And then Keely Williams, who is from 3LW and the Cheetah Girls. So I don't want to tell too much of the show. I want y'all to watch it. But what I will say about it is that it's interesting because basically these girls are all trying to go on the show. There is a lot of shade. So what I will say is that the big alpha females of the show is Keely Williams and Aubrey O'Day, which I found out, which I never knew this, but apparently Danny Kane is like the first girl group in history, the first female girl group in history to debut their first 2 albums at the top of the charts. So, yeah, interesting fun fact. But anyway, Aubrey O'Day and Keely Williams, it seems to be the 2 girls that's like clashing to try to, I think, lead the group or determine the outcome of the group. But the girls from Cherish are a little catty themselves. Like, they think that they are songwriters and producers. They're out here writing songs, doing a lot of stuff. Fallon King, she's doing her thing. She's written some songs for Chris Brown. She's wrote over 30 songs during the last 2 seasons of Empire. The other girls work with co-writing songs for Justin Bieber, the song Peaches. She's got some bragging rights, okay? And she also wrote some songs for Empire as well. But they got their career. They making money. And apparently they was talking about, one of the girls, like, my sister just became a millionaire. I was like, okay. It was just interesting. And then there's some of the younger girls who are dealing with their career and trying to get their confidence. Nivea, who I did not realize that Nivea, like, had some interesting relationships. So she was on and off with Lil Wayne, which I knew about that and The Dream, and she got married with The Dream, and had babies. She was that girl. I didn't realize that. Like, I remember Lauren London, before Nipsey, Lauren London was always romantically connected to people. I think she was also connected to Wayne too, or not, maybe. But she was connected to a lot of people, and no, no judgment, just, she was just connected. And then Nivea too. So it's been interesting to see how this show is gonna play out. But I've been watching it. The girls' vocals, some of the vocals are good, some of the vocals need work. I think that there's a huge generational gap between these girls, where you got girls from the 2000s, millennials, and you got folks that are like, not boomers, but you got a lot of older Gen Xers, and I don't know if they're going to be able to see eye to eye to put this together. You got girls in their 40s that are like, look, I ain't trying to have my body out. I haven't done choreo in years. And you got girls who, they just been dancing forever. They ain't never missed a beat. So it's just interesting to see the dynamics. I'll just say that much. But I'm looking forward to it. But the show I'm really looking forward to is, several shows actually. I'm looking forward to David Makes Man, which is coming back out, which I've been telling y'all is like the best show ever. David Makes Man is coming back on OWN. I can't wait to watch that. It's been a while. It's been over a year since the show made its debut, and because of the pandemic, production was waned. But then they're coming back. The show's back. Can't wait for season 2. Been excited. And then I can't wait for, of course, Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, because y'all know that's my guilty pleasure. I have been watching this show from the very beginning religiously. I've been waiting to watch these episodes. I will savor each episode because I've been missing it. I used to always complain about how Love and Hip Hop never stopped coming on. If you remember at one point in time, VH1 had Love and Hip Hop on cycles. It was to a point where there was not a day in the year where a Love and Hip Hop show was not on. So it was like Love and Hip Hop New York, Love and Hip Hop Miami, Love and Hip Hop Hollywood, Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. These 4 shows dominate the seasons. There was always an episode of Love and Hip Hop on every Monday night. And now we're getting back to that. And I am so fucking excited. First of all, I can't pick which one's my favorite. I believe that Love and Hip Hop Atlanta is my favorite one out of the franchise. I do like Love and Hip Hop New York. That's the original one. But Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, I feel like it's realer. They come with the drama. I feel like it's black as fuck. I feel like the drama is on an all-time high. It's more realistic. There's familiar characters. The characters got personality. I'm into Stevie J. I'm into Mimi. She's not even coming back, I don't think. But Kirk and Rashida, they get on my nerves sometimes. But their drama is always hot. Jessica Dime, I don't think she's coming back. I don't know. Sierra, love her. Tokyo, I hope Tokyo's coming back. I don't know who's coming back yet, but I'm just looking forward to the show. It's coming back July 5th after July 4th weekend. So, cannot wait. But this week is going to be cool. This weekend, I'm enjoying the Juneteenth weekend. I am taking some time to just enjoy the breeze, taking some time to just relax. I can now say I have a book to write. I'm going to be doing that. Also, I won an award last week. I won a Sigma Delta Chi Award for my COVID-19 online opinion writing for my work for Philadelphia Magazine on the website around the pandemic. So all of those pandemic op-eds and those columns I was writing, I got honored again by the Society of Professional Journalists. So thank you to SPJ. Thank you for the Sigma Delta Chi Foundation. This is the second Sigma Delta Chi award I've won. I previously won, y'all, in 2018. I received the award in 2019 for my work for Dining While Black, which talked about Philadelphia and racism in the Philadelphia food scene. And so to win this award, this honor again, and this time for my COVID reporting, it's nuts. So thank you to my readers. Thank you to my listeners. Thank you to my followers who just continue to support my work. And continue to spread the good word. And I'm forever grateful and always, 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 always thankful. Thank you so much. And as always, y'all, be best.
Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.